Hello and welcome to another WFL breakdown. I am the commissioner of the WFL and the current owner of the New Orleans Saints, Coach Winuvas, and I'm going to be your guide for this particular breakdown. This won't be a long one in comparison to some of the other ones we've done, but it's one I thought about after going through a lot of the other big ones that I wanted to cover, and it's one that I think needs covering just to kind of clarify our position on some things. And I'm going to show it to you here on screen now. And you can see, I'm going to highlight it. It is this one right here. And this is under the GM rules, section 4 of the rule book. I'll link it into this video once we get this video uploaded. Maximum length of contracts. What players ask for, or 5 years, whichever is lower. And I want to just kind of clarify that so that way you understand what we mean when we say maximum length. What players ask for, or 5 years, the lower of the two values will be what you can offer in contract. Now I'm going to come back here and I'm going to turn that off. So I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to show you Madden, and I'm actually going to stay up here for this one. So you actually get to see my beautiful face and this bright screen behind me as the sun comes in from my window that I can't get away from right now because my cats are invading my normal space. But right now I started a test franchise. This is not going to be our official franchise. This is one I just started just for this video demonstration. And this is in the middle of the season, so we've got a few contracts we can look at. And if you're unfamiliar with this screen, okay, this is the re-sign screen where you can go in and re-sign any players that you have, on your roster that are coming into the last year of their deal. Now, this, in our rule book, we state that you have a 50% list. Now, anyone that's not on that 50% list, you can sign at your discretion. It's not anything that we restrict you on. If they're on that list that we provide you on the spreadsheet, which is in another video, as far as the details on that. So I'm not going to go into the 50% rule here. But essentially, obviously, this is everybody that's currently on the last year of a contract. Okay, so you'll need to reference our 50% signing sheet for guys that are on the 50% list so you don't sign too many of those guys and incur a penalty there. But mainly, I just want to show this part off. You can see where they ask for certain numbers of years. And obviously, Teron Armstead here, he's asking for 28.5 in base and 33.2 in signing bonus over 3 years. Dang, he wants $20 million a year? Jesus. Okay. What I mean by the phrase, and I'm going to bring it back up just to show you, what players ask for, or 5 years, whichever is lower. So I'm going to go into the negotiations for Teron Armstead. And unfortunately, I forgot to turn tutorials off, so I got to skip all this crud. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, there we go. So what I mean by the maximum length of a contract. Okay, Teron Armstead is asking for a $3 million deal, and I'm covering up his face right now because I don't care what he looks like. Okay, so in this scenario, I legally cannot, by WFL rules, offer Teron Armstead a 4 or a 5 year deal because that's not what he asked for. The maximum he asked for, and you'll always see it because it shows on fair offer here in the corner, it says 60.17 over 3 years. So you're never at a doubt as to what the maximum number of years that you can legally offer in WFL is. So right now, I can offer Teron Armstead any of the 3 contract lengths. 3 years, 2 years, 1 year. I can offer no more than 3 years. If I want to offer him 3 years, that is legal. But I cannot go above 3 years. Okay? Now, I wish I did have a player that wanted 6 years, but unfortunately I don't. So what I'm going to do for the purposes of this is I'm going to pretend like Mr. Marcus Williams is asking for 6 years. Okay, so do bear with me on this particular one. So let's say he is asking for 6 years. By rule, which I'm going to pull it back up here, maximum length is what they ask for, or 5 years, whichever is lower. So if a player does ask for a 6 or a 7 year deal, the maximum you can give them in WFL rules is a 5 year contract. Even if they desire a 6 or a 7 year contract, you cannot offer them more than 5 years. You can offer them less than 5 years, but the maximum you can offer if they want 6 or 7 years, which I don't think I see too many players wanting that in today's Madden. But if they do request a 6 or 7 year deal, the most you can give them by WFL rules is 5 years, okay? You can go below that, obviously, because anything 5 years or less is legal in a case where they ask for more than 5 years. But like for the example, let's take it back down and let's say Marcus Williams is actually asking for what he's asking for, which is a 5 year deal. I can't offer him 6. I can offer him 5. I can offer him 4. I can offer him 3. I can offer him 2, and I can offer him 1 year deal. I cannot offer him more than 5, and I cannot offer him obviously less than 1. But I can offer him 5 on the dot. Now I'm going to go to the other extreme, and I'm going to go find. I know there was a player on here. Okay, right here, Ken Crawley. He is asking, and I'm going to zoom in here. He is asking for a 1 year deal. By WFL rules, I cannot offer him anything but a 1 year deal. Even if I wanted to sign him to a 3, 4, 5 year deal, I legally cannot sign him to more than a 1 year deal. And the reason we do that is because, let's be honest here, usually what you can do is you can basically go find you some young guys in the 22, 23, 24-year-old range, sign them to a ridiculous term, and then XP boost the crap out of them to the point where they're basically higher overalls than they are getting paid for, and essentially circumvent the cap. So to prevent that, what we do is we make it to where you have to sign them for what they ask for. So in this case, even if I wanted to keep Ken Crawley longer than a year, by WFL rules, I have to offer him a 1 year contract. Now, I can adjust any of these values as I see fit. It doesn't matter. This stuff, as long as he accepts the contract at a year deal, I can offer him whatever I feel like that he will actually take, but I cannot offer him more than a 1 year deal. And that's important because it does allow for roster turnover year over year, and you're not locked into a contract long term. So if you do have a guy that you want to keep as a depth piece, but you don't want to pay out that longer term, you get the option with these 1 year contracts, but you cannot go above a year. So that basically helps out your back end as far as your depth pieces, but also keeps you from exploiting Madden's crappy AI around signing contracts, because it could just as easily, now obviously Ken Crawley's 28 years old, so I'm not going to benefit much from trying to XP boost him, but if I grabbed a bunch of 21, 22, 23-year-old rookies, sign them to like 4 or 5 year deals, the maximum we allow in WFL is 5 years, and then XP boosted them, yeah, my first year team might not be that great, but in 5 years time I might have a really good batch of studs that I'd be underpaying because their overalls would exceed what their contract currently is paying out. So that's why we have that rule, and I wanted to kind of clarify it to make sure people understand what we say what we mean when we say what players ask for, or 5 years, whichever is lower, okay? Whichever is lower. So if they're asking for a 6 year deal, 5 is lower than 6. You have to offer a 5 year deal at most. If they're asking for a 1 year deal, 1 year deal is all you can offer them. If they're asking for a 2 year deal, and in the case of Mr. Juwan Johnson here, you can offer him either a 2 year deal or a 1 year deal. You cannot offer more than 2 years because that is the max he is asking for. Okay, and we do have means, especially in free agency, to check these things. So be aware of that even in free agency. Obviously, I'm talking re-signs, but that contract signings includes free agency. So if a free agent is only asking for a 1 year deal, you can only offer that free agent a 1 year deal. If they're asking for a 5 year deal, you can offer 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1. If they're asking for 6, the most any person can offer is a 5 year deal. Okay, now the bonus and the salary is, there currently is no cap as far as restrictions as far as how much you have to offer a player, how much you don't have to offer a player. We don't have any rules currently in place around making sure that you offer, like in free agency, a green bid, which is 71 points or higher, or actually, yeah, 71 points or higher. We don't restrict that yet. But if guys try and make us do that, we will. I know that if you lowball a guy in free agency enough, they may actually sign with you for a crap contract. And that's another good reason to have in place we only allow whatever the player asks for. So if a player is a high overall asking for a 1 year deal and you lowball them, yeah, you get them on maybe on a discount, but it's only for that 1 year. Next year, you're going to have to re-up if you want to try and keep that player around. So hopefully that helps explain as I exit out of here. And let's drop this. Hopefully that helps explain that particular rule, which I'll flash up on the screen one more time just to make sure we've got the coverage there. Maximum length as far as contract offers, and that's re-signs or free agency. It's whatever the players ask for or 5 years. Now, if you are found in violation of this rule, our roster gurus will present that to the Players Association, and there are a variety of things that can happen. One that would probably be what I would consider a slap on the wrist would be we'd adjust the contract to fit the means that are supposed to be. So, for example, if you signed a guy to a 2-year deal, we just change it to a 1-year deal. We would not change any of the cap numbers, so you take an increased cap hit for that player for that year, up to forcing you to cut the player and eat the cap penalty. If you do it enough times, that could result in removal from the league for failure to adhere to roster guidelines. So do be sure that you understand the rules around signing players. Hopefully this video helps to clarify that little tidbit. I didn't feel like it was a huge thing, so that's why I didn't do it earlier on in the cycle. I wanted to cover some more robust concepts like 50% plus 1 rule, some other breakdowns that I did earlier in this particular video series of WFL breakdowns. But this one's still one that's key because especially as we go to start here in every offseason that we do, you're going to need to understand how free agency and re-signs work as we go through each cycle. And the 50% rule does work with that as far as re-signs, but do know that what guys ask for in those re-signs is the maximum length of contract you can offer, even if it is just for a single year. Okay, with that pretty much does it for this one. This one's a real short one by most standards. Hopefully you got some out of it. Again, I'll link the rule book for Section 4, the GM rules, so you can look at this particular rule specifically. I'll link it down in the video description below. And until next time, I am Coach Winuvas, also the commissioner of the WFL and coach of the New Orleans Saints. And until the next time we meet, I will catch you later.